Imagine a treasure so vast, so legendary, that it could rewrite history. A treasure hidden for over 2,000 years, belonging to one of the greatest conquerors the world has ever known, Alexander the Great. Today, we're diving into the mystery of Alexander's lost treasures. Where are they? What do they hold? And could they still be out there, waiting to be discovered? Let's uncover the truth. Before we talk about the treasures, let's talk about the man himself. Alexander the Great was a Macedonian king who lived from 356 to 323 BCE. By the age of 30, he had built one of the largest empires in history, stretching from Greece to Egypt and as far east as India. He was a brilliant military strategist, a charismatic leader, and a man who loved wealth and glory. But his life was cut short at just 32 years old, leaving behind a legacy and a mystery. To understand the mystery of Alexander the Great's lost treasures, we first need to understand the man himself. Alexander the Great wasn't just a king or a conqueror. He was a legend. Born in 356 BCE in the ancient kingdom of Macedonia, Alexander was destined for greatness from the very beginning. His father, King Philip II, was a brilliant military leader who united the Greek city-states under Macedonian rule. His mother, Queen Olympias, was a fierce and ambitious woman who claimed that Alexander was descended from the gods themselves. According to legend, she told Alexander that his real father was Zeus, the king of the gods. Whether or not that's true, one thing is certain: Alexander grew up believing he was destined for something extraordinary. From a young age, Alexander was groomed for leadership. His father hired the best tutors to educate him, including the famous philosopher Aristotle. Under Aristotle's guidance, Alexander learned about science, philosophy, and literature. He developed a love for Homer's epic poems, especially the Iliad, which inspired his dreams of heroism and conquest. But Alexander wasn't just a scholar. He was also a warrior. By the age of 12, he tamed a wild horse named Bucephalus, a feat that amazed his father and proved his courage and skill. This horse would later become his loyal companion in battle. By 16, Alexander was already leading troops in his father's army. He was a natural leader, fearless in battle and deeply respected by his soldiers. But his relationship with his father was complicated. While Philip admired Alexander's talents, he also saw him as a rival. This tension would shape Alexander's early life and set the stage for his rise to power. In 336 BCE, everything changed. King Philip II was assassinated, and at just 20 years old, Alexander became the king of Macedonia. Many doubted that such a young ruler could hold the kingdom together, but Alexander proved them wrong. He quickly consolidated power, crushing rebellions and securing his throne. Then, he turned his attention to a bold plan: conquering the Persian Empire, the greatest empire of the ancient world. This wasn't just about power or wealth. It was about fulfilling a dream. Alexander saw himself as a new Achilles, the hero of the Iliad, destined to achieve glory and immortality. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed the Hellespont into Asia Minor with an army of 40,000 soldiers. What followed was one of the most incredible military campaigns in history. Over the next decade, Alexander led his army across thousands of miles, defeating the Persians in decisive battles like the Battle of Issus and the Battle of Gaugamela. But Alexander didn't stop there. He marched into Egypt, where he was welcomed as a liberator and declared a pharaoh. He founded the city of Alexandria, which would become one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. Then, he pushed east into modern-day Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India, conquering everything in his path. By the time he was 30, Alexander had built an empire that stretched from Greece to India, an empire larger than any the world had ever seen. What made Alexander so successful? It wasn't just his military genius. It was his charisma and his ability to inspire loyalty. Alexander led from the front, fighting alongside his soldiers and sharing their hardships. He was known for his bravery, often charging into battle ahead of his troops. But Alexander wasn't just a warrior, he was also a visionary. He believed in uniting the cultures of his empire, blending Greek and Persian traditions. He encouraged his soldiers to marry Persian women and adopted Persian customs himself. This earned him both admiration and criticism, but it showed his desire to create a truly global empire. However, Alexander's ambition came at a cost. His relentless drive for conquest pushed his army to its limits. After years of fighting, his soldiers grew weary and homesick. In 326 BCE, after reaching the banks of the Hyphasis River in India, his troops refused to go any further. Reluctantly, Alexander agreed to turn back. Alexander's journey back to Babylon was marked by triumph and tragedy. He continued to plan new conquests, dreaming of expanding his empire even further. But in 323 BCE, at just 32 years old, Alexander fell ill and died in Babylon. The cause of his death remains a mystery. Some say it was malaria, others believe it was poisoning, and some even think it was the result of his excessive drinking. His death left a power vacuum. Without a clear successor, his empire was divided among his generals, known as the Diadochi. This marked the beginning of the Hellenistic period, a time when Greek culture spread across the ancient world. But it also marked the end of Alexander's dream of a united empire. Alexander the Great's legacy is immense. He changed the course of history, spreading Greek culture and ideas across 3 continents. Cities named Alexandria sprang up everywhere he went, and his influence can still be seen in art, architecture, and literature today. But Alexander's legacy isn't just about what he achieved, it's also about what he left behind. His untimely death and the mystery of his lost treasures have captivated historians, archaeologists, and treasure hunters for centuries. Who was Alexander the Great? A hero? A tyrant? A visionary? Perhaps he was all of these things. But one thing is certain, his story is far from over. Now that we've explored the life of Alexander the Great, it's time to dive into the mystery that has fascinated the world for over 2,000 years, the mystery of his lost treasures. Where are they? What do they hold? And could they still be out there, waiting to be discovered? Let's find out. Alexander's empire was unimaginably wealthy. He conquered Persia, a kingdom known for its riches, and plundered its treasures. Historical accounts describe mountains of gold, silver, and precious gems. But here's the mystery. After Alexander's death, much of this treasure vanished. Some say it was hidden, some say it was stolen, and others believe it was lost to time. So, what happened to it? Alexander the Great wasn't just a conqueror. He was also one of the wealthiest men in history. His empire stretched across 3 continents, and with each victory, he amassed unimaginable riches. But what happened to all that wealth? Where did it go? And why do we still talk about Alexander's lost treasures today? Let's uncover the legend. Alexander's wealth came from the empires he conquered, and none were richer than the Persian Empire. When Alexander defeated the Persian king Darius III, he gained access to the royal treasuries of cities like Persepolis, Susa, and Babylon. These cities were filled with gold, silver, precious gems, and luxurious artifacts. Historical accounts describe Alexander's soldiers carrying away treasures on thousands of mules and camels. One famous story tells of Alexander finding 120,000 talents of gold in Susa, an amount so vast it's almost impossible to imagine. To put it in perspective, 1 talent was equivalent to about 26 kilograms of gold. That's over 3,000 metric tons of gold from Susa alone. But it wasn't just gold and jewels. Alexander also took control of Persia's vast network of trade routes, which brought wealth from across Asia, Africa, and Europe. With this wealth, Alexander funded his campaigns, built cities, and rewarded his loyal soldiers. But as his empire grew, so did the mystery of what happened to all that treasure. After Alexander's death in 323 BCE, his empire was divided among his generals, known as the Diadochi. These men fought bitterly for control of Alexander's territories and his treasures. Some of the wealth was used to fund their wars, while some was buried with Alexander's generals in lavish tombs. But what about the rest? According to ancient historians like Plutarch and Diodorus, Alexander's funeral carriage was loaded with gold and precious items. This carriage was supposed to transport his body to Macedonia for burial, but it never arrived. Some believe it was hijacked or hidden along the way. Others think the treasures were secretly buried in a location known only to a few trusted individuals. Over time, stories of Alexander's lost treasures became the stuff of legend. Some claimed the treasures were hidden in the deserts of Persia, while others believed they were taken to Egypt or even India. But despite centuries of searching, no one has ever found the bulk of Alexander's wealth. One of the most enduring legends is the story of Alexander's golden sarcophagus. According to ancient accounts, Alexander's body was placed in a gold coffin, which was then encased in a second gold coffin. This sarcophagus was said to be one of the most valuable objects in the ancient world. But like the treasures, the sarcophagus disappeared. Some believe it was taken to Alexandria, the city Alexander founded in Egypt. Others think it was hidden in a secret tomb, possibly in the Siwa oasis, where Alexander was declared the son of Zeus. There are also stories of Alexander's crown, his sword, and other personal items that were said to be priceless. These objects weren't just valuable, they were symbols of Alexander's power and legacy. But like the rest of his treasures, they vanished without a trace. So why do Alexander's lost treasures still capture our imagination? Part of it is the sheer scale of the wealth. Alexander's empire was unimaginably rich, and the idea of finding even a fraction of his treasures is thrilling. But it's not just about the gold and jewels. Alexander's treasures represent a connection to one of the most fascinating figures in history. They're a tangible link to a man who changed the world and whose legacy still resonates today. For historians and archaeologists, finding Alexander's treasures would be a chance to learn more about his empire and the cultures he conquered. For treasure hunters, it's the ultimate prize, a discovery that could rewrite history and make someone's fortune. And for the rest of us, it's the mystery. The idea that somewhere out there, hidden in the sands of time, lies a treasure so vast and so legendary that it could change everything we know about the ancient world. After Alexander died in Babylon in 323 BCE, his empire was divided among his generals, known as the Diadochi. Chaos ensued, and the treasures were scattered. Some were used to fund wars, some were buried with Alexander's generals, and some were simply lost. But there are legends that suggest some of the greatest treasures were hidden away, waiting to be found. For centuries, people have searched for Alexander's lost treasures. From ancient historians like Plutarch to modern archaeologists, the hunt has never stopped. Some believe the treasures are buried in Egypt, near the city he founded, Alexandria. Others think they're hidden in the deserts of Persia or the mountains of Afghanistan. But despite countless expeditions, the treasures remain elusive. So, what clues do we have? Ancient texts mention a golden sarcophagus and a treasure-laden funeral carriage that disappeared after Alexander's death. Some believe his tomb, which has never been found, holds the key. Others point to the Silk Road, where treasures could have been traded or hidden. And then there's the theory that the treasures were melted down or destroyed over time. But the most exciting possibility? That they're still out there, waiting to be discovered. While Alexander's greatest treasures remain lost, modern discoveries have given us glimpses of his wealth. In 2020, archaeologists in Greece uncovered a tomb filled with gold and artifacts that may have belonged to one of Alexander's generals. In Afghanistan, a hoard of ancient coins was found, bearing Alexander's image. These discoveries keep the hope alive that one day we might find the motherlode. Finding Alexander's lost treasures wouldn't just be a historical breakthrough. It would change how we see the ancient world. These treasures could tell us more about Alexander's empire, his culture, and his legacy. They could rewrite history books and inspire new generations of explorers. But until then, the mystery remains. So why does this matter today? Alexander's treasures aren't just about gold and jewels. They're about history, culture, and the human spirit of exploration. They remind us that there are still mysteries out there, waiting to be solved. And who knows, maybe one of you watching this will be the one to uncover Alexander's lost treasures. The story of Alexander the Great's lost treasures is one of history's greatest mysteries. What do you think happened to them? Do you believe they're still out there, waiting to be found? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Who knows? The next video might just reveal the next big discovery. Until then, keep exploring, and I'll see you in the next adventure.